Yeah, I hung out with Lionel Richie once back in the days, and he told me the same thing back in the day. So that was before finding Neverland.
Yeah. What did Lionel Richie say?
This was years ago. I was at a party I had no business being at. I told this story at Comedy Central, and this is not happening. But me and Lionel Richie were like the only two black guys at this decadent party in the Bahamas.
Okay.
And he's just telling me, I'm asking him all types of stories. And his take was, I never seen nothing, and Mike just liked to be around kids. But because Mike liked to be around kids a lot, he puts himself in positions for people to be like, but I don't believe he did. That's what his position was at that time in history.
Right. I interviewed Jason Weaver, who played young Michael Jackson in the Jacksons movie.
I saw Jason Weaver apologizing for something he said on VladTV.
About Boosie, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but basically, just to, since you mentioned it, he was criticizing people celebrating Boosie getting out of prison when he's like, "Why don't you celebrate other black men?"
Right. I think it was good of him to apologize.
Yeah, and I said, I think people weren't just celebrating him getting out of prison; they're celebrating the fact that he stood up for his morals.
Yeah.
He never snitched on anybody. He was willing to
that's important
to die, for his beliefs and so forth. And people fuck with his music on top of it.
I haven't seen the Michael Jackson documentary.
You haven't seen Leaving Neverland?
No, I haven't seen it.
Hard to say. I mean, there's holes in it, but
I've heard that the conflict for me is that I go on stuff like that. I go on who I respect.
Mm-hmm.
There's a large amount of people that I respect that saw it and said, because I saw that, I can't fuck with Michael Jackson no more. There's also a large amount of people who saw it and said, that's some bullshit. And made some, without me seeing it, said some things that was like, okay, that sounds like maybe there's some holes in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you, and this is just, we all have our things to get over. And maybe this is my cowardice I gotta get over. I have not been ready to deal with it. You understand what I'm saying? I have not been ready to, because once you have the knowledge, you're responsible for it.
Mm-hmm.
Once I see it, I gotta speak on it. And so I just have not taken the time to 6 hours long or some shit, right? I have not taken the time.
It's pretty long.
To because part of me is like, man, I'm not ready to comment on that yet. That's I'll admit to you, that's my own cowardice, because I do feel like Michael Jackson is so important to the society, and child molestation, speaking up to those issues is so important that me as a public figure, especially if I'm going to be asked about it on VladTV, you know what I'm saying?
And really, I think a lot of my points were, when I speak about this, is that, look, did it happen? Did it not happen? No one will ever know. Michael Jackson is dead. The people that are accusing him are trying to get money, or have billion-dollar lawsuits against his estate.
Yeah, money takes a lot of it.
Yeah, no one really knows. And these people also, the two guys that were in the documentary also were, on the record, said that nothing happened in previous lawsuits and so forth.
I know it's funny because I'm aware of all the criticism of it.
Yeah.
I'm aware of everything you just said, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah. They said that they got molested on some ride in Neverland that didn't even exist on that date. It got built like 3 years later. Whatever. I got it. But bringing back to Jason Weaver, who played Michael Jackson, and he even said how Michael Jackson showed up on the set, in disguise. He had like a beard and looked like an old white guy. It's kind of a crazy story. But he has a son himself, and I said, would you leave, as much as you love Michael Jackson, would you leave your son at Michael Jackson's house by himself for a weekend? Parents left children with Michael.
Yes.
And all that, and you as a father know that you would not do the same thing with your child, Michael Jackson or anyone else.
Hell no.
No. Pick your favorite singer or actor that you look up to. You may love Denzel Washington, but you're not going to leave your 10-year-old son at Denzel's house for a couple days and let Denzel sleep in the room with him. He said, absolutely not. And that was really the big kind of thing, is that you had these parents leaving their children with this 30-something-year-old man who they're not, related to. And it's all based on money, and they're getting free houses out of this. Yeah, that's
fucked up. There was some of that going on with the R. Kelly stuff, too.
Yeah, and Michael Jackson is having these children around him, even though people are telling him not to do it, but he's somehow justifying his head. It's a fucked up situation, and ultimately, you have to hold him responsible as well as hold the parents responsible over this whole situation and this whole enigma that will never be solved.
If he did it, then the responsibility lies with him, regardless of what the parents did. Now, you can be critical of him.
I don't agree.
Here's the thing.
I don't agree. I think parents should be liable for this.
Here's the thing, like, okay,
As well.
Well, let's talk, like, Michael, like you said, we don't know. R. Kelly, he's in jail for the shit, right? He's been arrested for it.
R. Kelly has a videotape of the
Right,
shit.
we got video, right?
Okay? So it's not even really a conversation when it comes to R.
So
Kelly.
let's talk about R. Kelly, because with Michael Jackson, we don't know.
Yeah.
R. Kelly, we know, right?
There's no videotapes of Michael Jackson.
Right, so R. Kelly, we know. When I was watching the R. Kelly, Surviving R. Kelly, something that bothered me was that I said, just how it seemed to me that there was a whole bunch of people in his life, from singers to producers to artists to people around him, that knew what was going on, and it wasn't a problem until it was. It wasn't a problem until it was one of their people. It wasn't a problem until the money ran out.
So the money ran out.
It wasn't, and it was all a money play for a lot. And they're all on this documentary. Some of them, correct me if I'm wrong, a couple of them was putting out projects, like, my new album's coming out, check me out on the R. Kelly document, shit like that. Like, that to me is deplorable. That to me is horrible. I don't think we should condone any of that, and I think we should hold people accountable for that. But that's not what the issue is. That's not what the documentary is about. As fucked up as it is for the parents that have done that, as fucked up as it is for people to capitalize on that, and I'm talking about everybody involved, Lifetime, I'm talking about everybody involved, capitalizing on it, making money from it, right? As fucked up as that is, all that stuff pales in comparison to what R. Kelly did. And if we start shifting blame at all, it opens the door for pedophiles and people who are fans of child molestation to now use what you may have done with good intentions to defend R. Kelly. And so we can't. That's why when it comes to stuff like that, you cannot be like, well, maybe. Okay, yeah, I mean, not maybe, definitely they should have, but that's not a criminal charge. That's not something that we can. That's not the conversation. The conversation has to be about what he did. It has to be.
Yeah. Now, I understand what you're saying, but you're a parent.
Yeah, I am.
And for you to leave your children.
Right. I'm a parent that was raised by two professors.
Yeah.
My mother's a professor. My father's a professor. A lot of my friends don't even know their parents. What if you're a parent that wasn't raised with good parents? What if you're a parent that didn't know how to be a good parent? The way I am in my life is because of my parents. This is one of my greatest privileges, is both parents highly educated, both parents dedicated to children and to education and all that. But if I was raised by a crackhead, or I was raised by someone who was mentally ill, or if I was raised by someone who had, who was like thrown in jail and couldn't take care of me, or I may not have the parenting skills. And that's why you can't really put that on them. You have to put it on the person responsible for the act. People are not raised by good parents often. And it creates cycles,
Oh, it's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Talib Kweli, always a pleasure. Let's not let 3 years pass.
No doubt.
To our next interview.
I'm like Godfrey and Lord Jamal. I'm strategic with my VladTV appearances.
Yes, sir, man. Definitely, you have your own podcast as well.
Yes, People's Party. Check it out on the Uprocks platform, and I'm just really out here though.
That's what it is.
I still rap a lot, but my fans know that.
That's what it is. Until next time.
No doubt.
Peace.